Welcome to A Taste of AZ podcast. My name is Luke Irvin, and today we've got an epic episode lined up for you. But before we jump into that, just want to let you guys know real quick, we've got some brand new merchandise up on our website, including these Thanks for Supporting Local hats and 2 new shirts as well. If you like today's episode, please also leave us a review on your favorite podcast app, subscribe to our YouTube channel, and follow our email newsletter. With nothing else to say, let's jump into today's episode.
Well, let's give a shout out to Osteria Mia for, and I like Mario said, because he tells me how you say it, but I always forget when people ask, and I'm like, I think it's Osteria. You said you focus on the O, right?
Yeah,
you said
emphasize Osteria.
Yeah, not Oysteria or
Right.
Osteria.
Yeah.
It's Osteria.
Which I did listen to that podcast, and I remember him saying that a lot of people thought it was an oyster bar
Yeah,
because
he
of
was
the
saying
name,
that.
which I never thought of.
Yeah. I told him he needs to have oysters now. Then he said, yes, I do. It's not an oyster bar.
The cost.
I could see him coming up with some creative Italian oyster prep.
Yeah.
I mean, just April Fool's Day would be like a good day, to have an oysteria day.
Yeah.
Actually, that's funny.
Unlimited oyster
Unlimited,
day.
all you can eat.
The un is like crossed out. Limited means none. We have none. But yeah, shout out to Mario for letting us record here. You guys are very mobile, so you don't have an actual location, right? So
Totally.
So we had to find a spot.
Yeah, this is great.
Yeah, this was perfect.
One of our
thanks for having
favorites,
us.
right, Ark?
Absolutely. We're going to meet up after this and meet up. We're going to eat.
Happy days.
I mean, that's what I was planning on doing too. So yeah.
Hell yeah.
Feel free to join.
Yeah,
Okay.
please. So introduce you guys. So we're here with Common Hospitality. Introduce yourselves. Like, what is your name? Let's start with that.
Oh, that's a good question. Oh, yeah. Yeah, I'm Luke Detraz. I'm born and raised here in Arizona, and this is something we've been working on and kind of having fun with for it's almost been 2 years.
Yeah, 2 years. Yeah,
Okay.
2 years this August.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Just
nice.
crazy.
Long time. My name's Justin Heggie, and I kind of keep this guy in track. He's the talent, but
Is it a hard job?
I'm the enforcer. He's the talent.
You need that.
Yes.
You need that.
No, specifically, he needs that.
Yeah.
I do need it.
Yeah.
I do need it.
If you
We're going to
don't-
dig into that. We're going to dig into why that
Oh,
is.
geez.
He looks familiar. I feel like I'd met Justin
I
before.
feel the same.
Yeah, right?
I guess I have a face for that. I've been in town for a long time. I've been 33 years in Phoenix, so done a lot of different things. Maybe
From where?
Well, I actually pastor a church, so
Okay.
that's something that
Nice.
I've done since I've been in the ministry since I was 18 years old, and food has always been part of that as well, hospitality, and it's an exciting thing for us to kind of combine, and that was one of our visions with this, is that when we're meeting people, we're not just bringing food, we're bringing hospitality, and something that's kind of centralized to us, what we believe in, and kind of core to, I think, what we try to do is I think everyone wants to give somebody a good time, but for us, hospitality kind of stretches beyond that. It's for us, it's intentional, and I don't know. It's we want to make it common is the reason why we have that name.
I like that.
Yeah, that's the whole reason for a name, because it's just because, there's so many times now hospitality is no longer common. Like, you either get good food or you get good service or you get good ambiance, and it's very hard for a place to have 3 nowadays, which is is sad. You know what I mean? And there's so many good restaurants, but they're always missing something. So we wanted to make hospitality common again, and that's why we kind of do things uncommonly. So that's kind of where our whole naming.
I like how
came
you
from.
share a story, too, with
Yeah.
every dish that you do.
It has to.
Yeah, Luke's good about that, man. I mean, especially with where he's at right now and what we've decided, just to kind of make Arizona stuff front and center. The cuisine of Arizona, this dude is building a chicken coop literally today, because why? Because everything we do, we want to have that story behind it where we've put our heart and soul into it from the very beginning. You know what I mean? So I think that sets us apart, honestly.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, Christina, my first introduction to you guys, to Luke specifically, and Christina invited us over for a dinner at her home. So my wife and I love Ernesto and Christina, so we've been trying to find a way to get together, and she's like, I got the perfect opportunity. And this guy showed up.
And I
with
knew
his,
you would appreciate all the thought that goes into common hospitality.
Yeah.
I mean, as you were saying, you guys are very Arizona focused.
Yeah.
And I remember, I think you did a strawberry rhubarb aguachile.
Yeah.
And you want to talk a little bit about like the thought process? And I think it was 5 courses with cocktails.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think so. I don't even remember it that much, but yeah, just to be honest with you. Yeah, it's just one of those things, what we try to do is what I call Arizona style, right? So it's one of the things when I get into something, I go full bore into it, which drives my wife insane because it's just like, I have to know everything there is and I'm going to buy everything I need to figure this out. So when I started because I'm born and raised here, so it's important for me, especially I'm second generation. So like my mom grew up in a rock house in Quartzsite. So like Arizona is very into what we do as a family. So I wanted to dive into the history of food in Arizona and I wanted to bring all the influence of not a lot of people that do Arizona will either kind of do Native American specific, but I was like, well, I appreciate what they do and the food and the style, but I want to do a little bit more because you look at the melting pot of all these other big cities and they all have influence from other cultures. So when I started looking at, you have this kind of Chinese element from the railroad workers and you have the Native American and you have the Spanish and Mexican, and then you also have the Southern influence too. So I wanted to figure out how we can combine all that into one and really embrace it. So we try to do some sort of pairing, or we have one thing that's a central focus, doing that agua chili. Agua chili is one of my favorite things to eat in Mexico. And then doing strawberry rhubarb, which is such a cohesive pairing that's just, it's a classic pairing, but how do we make it different? Yeah. You know what I mean? So
and it was such a beautiful, vibrant dish, too.
Totally.
And I think you paired it with the nopales agua fresca.
Yeah.
And you were talking about how that technique is really secret technique that you learned. I forget, but I think you said something I'm not going to tell anybody how I did this.
Yeah, I love nopales personally, and it's kind of an acquired taste. And we tried making cocktails with it for a long time, but the problem is it's kind of like okra where it gets the sliminess to it. And no matter how you blend it, or even I've tried juicing it many a times, and it doesn't work. And a couple years ago, we actually met with a nopales farmer because we were looking at some different products for serving. And he goes, oh yeah, our guys drink nopales agua fresca all the time. And I'm like, how in the heck are they doing this? He goes, oh, here, let me show you. And I'm like, I don't understand how this even works and how you're pulling this much flavor. But I'm not even going to share it because it's proprietary
under
now.
wraps.
Yeah.
Under wraps.
It's a common hospitality secret.
Yes. Well, we actually hit a GoPro in the kitchen that day.
Oh, booyah. Sorry, dude.
I was waiting for this to tell you that. But well, even now when you mention those things, right, Christina, my knowledge with food is still very limited. I'm learning, right? Yeah. When it comes to beer, I know all the nuances of that, right? So what was the main dish called? What was it?
I know. Was it a koji marinated ribeye?
Well, no, the one you just talked about just now.
Oh, yeah.
What was the dish you just explained?
The strawberry rhubarb agua chili.
Yeah.
What's an agua chili? Yeah. So as I'm trying to remember back, what is that?
So an agua chili is kind of like middle Mexico. I call it middle Mexico. Let's say that, but it's more of a different way of doing a ceviche.
Okay.
So
it means fire water.
Yeah, it means fire water. So basically,
okay.
you would take chilies and onions and everything, and it'd be all blended into almost like a juice base.
Okay.
And that would be your base to marinate shrimp in it, and then you serve it with some raw onion and stuff like that.
And what was so cool
now.
is just 2 weeks ago we did that vegetarian, and we actually we did it with watermelon, smoked watermelon.
Ooh, smoked watermelon.
And it was such a
Wow.
cool. It was
I'm
such
ready
a
for
cool
another
look.
dinner. What do you
when
think?
When we took pictures of it, it ended up looking like tuna. It was just so
Wow.
beautiful. And so when we put it down, you could actually see a little disconcern on the people's face because they wanted a vegetarian dinner, and they're like, we want it. It was like, no, that's watermelon. That's not tuna. It was actually that cool looking.
Yeah, when you actually smoke watermelon, it compresses the juices while releasing them at the same time, and it creates a texture almost like fish.
It was so crazy.
When you shave it.
Yeah, it was so crazy.
Interesting.
Yeah.
How long do you smoke that? How long would you smoke?
About 2 hours.
Okay.
Yeah, that's all
Okay.
you need on it.
Yeah.
It sounds like you have a lot of fun experimenting.
Totally. I know. It drives my wife crazy. Just the other day, I had a day off, and I was like, I need to do something today. And so, I made.
I'm going to spend 5 hours messing up the kitchen.
Yeah, I made duck bacon because why not? I had some extra duck just laying around.
Duck bacon?
Yeah, it's so good.
Man.
Wow.
All these things, and I don't see any of them on our table.
You know what's
sorry.
funny is I actually had some sausage that we made for a wedding recently, and I saved a link of it, and I forgot to bring it today.
man.
I was going to
bring the
it.
hot sauce.
Hot sauce, yeah.
Yeah, we just got done doing a wedding up in. I think it was one of our biggest challenges. We did it kind of off the grid, up
Literally.
yeah, and so we brought up all equipment that we just rented, and generators and sinks and all that stuff.
Had you done that before?
No.
We had not, and I don't know if we'll do it again, but it was crazy. I think we had 120 people at the wedding, and they were all desiring. It was such a cool idea. They again, this kind of goes back to, I think, like our idea of not just accommodating, but then trying to bring our own vibes. They wanted something family style. I wish we could show pictures because it was so cool, but they wanted family style of upscale barbecue.
Wow.
And so we ended up doing I think it was one of the more impressive, fun. I mean, we were wiped out afterwards.
I bet.
Really, it was just the challenge.
It was freezing too on top of it.
It was cold. Yeah,
yeah,
it
we
was
had
30
that cold
degrees.
snap.
30 degrees that night.
Wow.
So we felt really, really bad for the bride and groom, but actually people ended up staying, dancing, having fun. And I mean, the food, we did it on huge platters. So everybody, the table, we just sat down and everyone just had a huge platter of like 4 different meats. And I mean, it was really,
Nice.
really impressive. I love what we did that day.
And it was cool too because the people that we were doing it for are good friends of ours, and the husband's like super into homesteading and growing everything. So I would probably say 80% of what was on that plate was either foraged by us or grown by us and him.
Yeah.
Wow.
That was
Which
so
was
cool.
really
Pretty
fun.
special.
Yeah, it was
That
a lot of
is.
fun.
And that was cool for the guests too. We put that on the bottom of the menu. Most of this has been forged by Common Hospitality or the groom, and people. It was just a talking piece.
Yeah.
Talk
for
about
people, it was
true
such a cool-
Arizona experience.
Yeah, it
Totally.
was awesome.
Nice.
Yeah, it was cool.
I might have to renew my vows just so we can.
Yeah,
Right.
let's do it.
And ask for duck bacon.
Yes,
Yeah.
for sure. Yeah. Well, let's back up a little bit. So, Luke, you specifically, the food path for you, like, where did that start? Like, when did you really start getting into? Was it something you've always been into?
Yeah, I've always had this like desire to cook. Even as a
Okay.
kid, I would, cut out pictures of recipes and stuff and create my own cookbook. And like I used to watch Emeril Lagasse as a kid. Like
Nice.
I was in, I watched cartoons and fishing shows and Emeril Lagasse like as a kid. Like that was my childhood. And so, kind of doing the restaurant thing later in life, I always ended up in front of house just because, financially it was better for you.
Yeah.
But I always had like this thing of like, I'm going to make friends with all the cooks. And after my shift was over for lunch, they were friends with me, so therefore they would let me go back and cook my own thing, or I'd try to pick up shifts or whatever. And, a few years ago when we had our company Black Shaker doing all the cocktail stuff, we started doing pop-up restaurants just kind of out of boredom.
Yeah, you
And
did that at Liberty. Well, it wasn't Liberty.
We did a
before.
bunch, yeah, we did a
that
bunch.
one that you did. I think of Garrett, right? Was that when Garrett?
Oh,
was there?
that was actually pre-Black Shaker. Yeah, me,
Wow.
Garrett, and Rich. Yeah,
We go way back.
We go way back. But yeah, I always one of those like, hey, you guys do the cocktails and I'm going to do the food because I really appreciate doing the food, and it was just a fun thing for me to do. And
Yeah.
I always wanted to be a chef, but like, let's be real, those guys work way too hard.
Yeah.
And it's a struggle,
the pay compared to the work that they put into it is
underappreciated for sure.
Yeah. Well, so then how did this all kind of come about? How did Common Hospitality come about?
Well, what's funny is, I after we did some of those restaurant pop-ups, we had a couple people go, hey, like, come cook at our house. And I was like, okay, well, just try this out for fun. I have no intention of doing this. And then, COVID hit and we ended up shutting down the company just because events weren't happening anymore.
Yeah.
And then, things kind of let up again. And I got a call, hey, you did this dinner like 3 or 4 years ago, and we thought it was the greatest thing ever. Will you
It's
come?
nice when it's memorable and people don't forget about
Yeah,
it.
years later, she's like, yeah, we want to do this tequila pairing, and my husband loves tacos. Will you come make tacos? And I was like, yeah, sure, I can do
Oh
this.
yeah, he did a mezcal taco dinner once up in what is it, Cave Creek or Carefree? Or,
Yeah, we did that. We did a whole the Ofrenda series.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember that was fun. That was so much fun.
That
That one.
What
was-
is that? Like, to talk about that a little bit.
So we did this whole kind of concept. It was called the Ofrenda series. So it was, Ofrenda being altar, and it was like we kind of did an appreciation. So like one of them was strictly tacos. So like an appreciation for the taco. And we did one for an appreciation to the pig.
Okay.
And then we did one just for seafood. And so we had pairings with it. We did 5 courses for each one. It was just a fun thing. We donated the money to charity and just had fun with it. But
And where did you do it? Like, where do you do something like this?
whoever lets me jump in their kitchen.
So what was it? What was in Cave Creek? Cart rates, right?
Yeah.
Brett, did you ever do anything with Brett?
I didn't. I really didn't jump into the scene too much on the chef side. I have a couple chef buddies that I love and appreciate, but I didn't really kind of put my name out there. I was more on the beverage side, and I've been
Okay.
on the beverage side for a
I think
long
you
time.
did one at
Yeah.
the Vig, right? Did you?
No. No. I know. I'm like
Well,
trying
I
to remember
have
all
so
the places.
many memorable meals, so that's
Well,
why
you do like 4 things a day too. Like the fact that you can remember
All
these
runs
things is
together.
yeah.
Amazing.
I'll
I
think
can't
of the
remember
name
the
later.
dozen that I did, but you remember the 6 that I did.
So you were mainly on the cocktail side of things, and you would pair up with a chef, and they would create these dishes, and you would pair them with cocktails.
Yeah, I was the director of mixology for Southern here in town for a long time. So
Okay.
everybody knew me as kind of the beverage guy. So I'd help restaurants develop cocktail menus and train staff, and that was kind of my job for a long time here.
Yeah, whenever I think of Japanese whiskey, I
Yeah.
think of you because he did this great Japanese whiskey 101. I think you tasted us through like 5 or 6, and then he made cocktails. I remember you made one and he's all about, the whole complexity and layers and garnishes. And you did one that looked like a dragon garnish out of, what was it, fruit or flowers? I forget.
It was fruit and flowers, I think. Yeah. I was trying to remember. Yeah, because I try to, everything, there's got to be a story. To me, stories always sell, and if it doesn't have a story, then it's not worth it.
Sure.
So
And I
we always
still
try to
remember
build
you did a
story.
black sesame simple syrup that blew my mind.
Christina, you have the greatest memory of
Only-
any human
only
being
food and
on
booze,
earth.
though.
That's
That's it.
amazing.
That's all you need.
yeah,
Right? That's all
holy
you
cow.
need. Yeah.
That was a fun seminar because we get to try a really great lineup of Japanese whiskey before Japanese whiskey was popular.
Right.
Yeah.
So we had our hands on stuff that you can't even get anymore, which sucks.
And even then, I think there were some that were really limited. Because
Totally.
I like there was one that you referred to as you feel like you're drinking in the forest and the moss, like it was.
Such a crazy memory.
But I remember you were like, oh, it's hard to find. And
It's
it
the
was so
the
disappointing.
Hakushu.
Forest in the moss.
The
and then-
Hakushu 12 year is one of my favorite Japanese whiskeys, and it was literally like if you've ever been turkey hunting, you're out there early morning, you're sitting under a tree, and like it tastes like the smells around you. The dew and the pine and the grass, like it tastes like that experience.
Look at
to
this
me.
guy, dude.
Both of them. I'm in
What
awe.
a geek.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. He
That's
really
why we're
does
friends.
that. Yeah. Japanese whiskey. I've never really. I think the only Japanese whiskey I've tried is like probably the bottom of the shelf type of, because I see it on a menu. I'm like, oh, I'd like to try that, and I'm like, I can't afford that one, right? So I go, but what makes Japanese whiskey unique?
What's funny is Japanese whiskey was created off the idea of Scotch. So Shinji Oratori actually went to Scotland and learned from the Scots how to make whiskey. So he took everything and took the culture and the style and everything back to Japan from Scotland and just recreated it.
Okay.
So it's really unique. To me, it's a more terroir aspect of what Scotch is. Like Scotch has its terroir and its flavor because of Scotland.
Yeah.
Japanese has the same thing because of the water sources. What's funny is most of the barley they're getting too is actually coming from Scotland.
Okay.
For Japanese whiskey, but the
Yeah.
Scots are getting their barley from all over the place, which is kind of unique. But
Yeah.
it's more inclusive to what the Japanese culture is, where everything is very simple but also complex at the same time.
Okay. And I know with Scotch, the peat is what really signifies it, right? And I think was it Whiskey Del Bach kind of does this kind of a similar process, but it's like smoked
Mesquite.
Yeah.
right? So is there something in Japanese whiskey that differentiates it in that, or do they use peat, or do they?
Yeah, they actually still use peat, so you can
Okay.
get peat just about anywhere that has kind of the wet, dense areas. And the process with peat in each one, so each flavor of whiskey will have different levels of smokiness or peatiness to it,
Okay.
and that's by how much peat they're actually using and how long they're actually cooking it with peat. So that's kind of your flavor profile. So there's so much variation, and you can literally go bottle by bottle of the variation of how much peat it has.
Gotcha. So with Scotch, and I'm just digging deep into your
Oh,
brain
you're
at this
fine.
point.
You're
This
fine.
is shit that
There's
I
a
just
lot
wanna
in
know.
here that I forget about. You know what I mean?
So with some of the regions of Scotland and the Scotch, that it's not so much that the peat tastes different in that region. It's just that region uses a style that uses more of it.
It's actually both.
Okay.
Yeah. So especially we always talk about Lafroig, right?
Yeah.
The peat monster.
Yeah, for sure.
Coming from the island. So that peat, because it is island based, it's going to have more of those salty, brinier flavors from it.
Okay.
So unless you get peat from the lowlands or some of the highland areas, typically you have more floral flavor profiles that will come off it, because
Okay.
it is, if you look at the earth and what's around that area, that what's becoming and decaying matter is going to be more flour and that kind of base versus kind of those saltier, brinier notes.
Gotcha.
So there's a total nerdy terroir aspect that goes into even the peat aspect of it.
I love that though, right? And I know you appreciate that stuff too, Christina, which is why you do
Well,
what you
and
do.
that's why I think it's so unique that common hospitality. It's not only the food, but when you
Yeah.
do the cocktail
Oh, it
pairings, and now
separates
you
us.
can see why they're so brilliant.
Yeah. Yes.
So grateful for that, because right now we've done I mean, we've done probably 40 bachelorette parties over the last year and a half, just from people coming from New York and Chicago and New Jersey. So somehow, some way, we kind of got into this. I don't know what you'd say. Like,
it's like one group of friends, and all their group of friends is like hundreds of people.
It's
and they all know each
That's
other, and they're all
perfect.
getting married right now. You know?
Yeah, and so Scottsdale is the new hotness. You know, I mean, it's Nashville and Scottsdale. So when they roll in, you know, that's kind of not the selling point, but I think it's the thing that distinguishes us. You know, we're talking food for these private dinners for these girls, or we've done some bachelor parties as well. These guys, and then the next thing you know, Luke starts talking about all the, you know, the depth of knowledge that he has in that. And hey, this is how we're going to pair it. Hey, we're going to do a class for you guys. And they're just going crazy. You know, they just love this idea, and they put it on their, you know, every one of these bachelorettes, they have the lineup. It's so crazy. They go to the Pink Jeep tour. They go to Sumamaya, where they go to Bottle Blonde. Like they go to the same exact place as all these parties. And then they hire private chefs. So when we're in there, you know, it's kind of, like I said, it distinguishes us because of the pairing and the knowledge that Luke has, you know.
Yeah.
So it's really cool.
Yeah, like I said, I'm renewing my vows. I'm going to recommend I have 2 daughters.
Another bachelor party. Yeah,
Exactly.
Okay, right. Cool.
Yeah, I never really did have a real bachelor party,
Yeah,
so
there
this
you
is
go.
my opportunity.
This one, everybody's in bed by 8, right? On this one.
Oh,
Right?
yeah, exactly. My
We'll do
style.
brunch. We'll do brunch.
Yeah, there we go.
Well, Justin, how did you connect with Luke?
We've been buddies for a long time. Like I said, you know, kind of the common bond for us was in church. You know, he is one of the elders in our church. And so I've always done big events, big food. We opened a restaurant, my wife and I, called Heggy's, which is still open in Kiowa Island, South Carolina. And it's kind of like a Southern French cuisine. And so we opened that back in the early 2000s when we got married, 2005. And so we worked that. And when we came to Arizona, we opened the church. We did all that thing. Luke and I have been buddies. And it was kind of like, man, I'm always asking for his help, or he's always asking for my help. And we were just always crossing up that way. And we we work so well together. I was actually telling my wife last week when we were in the middle of like that really, really big rush, like the greatest single thing about Luke is that when he says he'll do it, he'll actually do it. So it's weird because a lot of times when we're doing these events, you know, we're cooking at different places, and then we come together with the recipes that we've brought or the menu and with the different elements of it, and I always know that he's going to do it. So my point is that we kind of bonded over that. You know, like there's some accountability to us, there's a friendship to us, we both enjoy it, and so we're like, well, why don't we scale this thing and stop doing separate stuff? Let's join together. We both love this stuff, and it's been awesome. I really have enjoyed it. So that's kind of how we met. I mean, not how we met.
Sure.
We knew each other for.
So it's been like 20 years.
Yeah, we've known each other
Wow, that's
forever,
great.
but we just didn't make. And we always were doing, like, I would do a men's retreat for 60 people. And I'm like, bro, will you come up? Because I'm like buried, you know. And then he's cooking a pig underground for this group of men, you know.
Of
and I'm
course
like,
he is.
you know, and that's him, you know. And I'm in the kitchen, I'm doing breakfast, I'm doing all these things, kind of like for large. And then I'm like, if I don't have this guy to bring this genius to it, you know, it's just really, it's been such a cool marriage between the two of us, because I think we both specialize in different stuff, and for his is so craft, and so I always appreciate that element to what we're doing, you know.
Yeah.
What's funny is I was actually thinking about this morning, like if you look at the Voltaggio brothers, like I'm kind of the nerdy, like weird, artistic-y.
That is true.
And he's like Brian, where he's very classically like French trained. You know what I mean? Like you're gonna get really good cream-based sauces, and like
It is true.
he has like the really quality understanding of like how to cook good. And I'm just like, how weird can I make it?
Right.
Totally. Yeah, it's funny. We you know, and with some of these menus that we put out, you know, when we're talking to somebody, we always put out an initial menu, and we say, okay, now you come back to us, what doesn't work, what does work, you know. And sometimes this guy's throwing out, you know, oh, we're gonna throw a bison leg out, you know, and they're just like, oh, can we just get some steak here, you know, regular, you know, and
No.
like, yeah, exactly, because he's always
That's
got
no fun,
he's
right?
always got to nerd it up, you know what I mean? So we laugh about that. It's kind of the yin and the yang of our relationship and of our partnership. So
Yeah, I
it's
think
good.
for our like steak course, did you do bison?
Of course. Yeah.
And it was, I remember koji marinated, and you had hominy, and there was some other element.
It was a
so
play, yeah. Because
impressive.
I do remember it was a play on corn, so I wanted to do different variations.
That's
so like
right.
there was that corn mole, and
That's
then
right, I
there
That
remember
was
that.
corn
You
mole,
did that.
and then I got to keep a little extra too.
yeah.
That was amazing.
See how he is on camera. You can just see.
He lights up talking about corn mole.
Well, that was like the last time I made mole before this wedding, actually, because I was like, I used to make mole all the time.
Yeah, you did
Yeah.
at that taco.
Like
awkwardly.
awkwardly, I would make like a mole a week just because I
Well,
just
it's
wanted
the
to do something
time,
different.
man. The
Yeah,
time,
at the
man.
time
It's
it goes,
just
but I
so
was like
crazy.
nerding out after like a trip to Oaxaca about mole, and I was just like, I have to do this.
Yeah.
So yeah, and then I just made some. We did a prickly bear base mole, which was fun.
Wow.
Yeah. And okay, so what exactly is mole?
So mole is just like literally it's the mother sauce of Oaxaca. So like
Okay.
there's 7 variations with the base being mole negro, and then it's chocolate and chilies and spices, and it's kind of unique.
And
like
a lot. Like it can be 20 different
It could be
ingredients,
15
right?
ingredients. It
Yeah.
could be 50 ingredients. Like it's one of those things. It's like each family kind of has a proprietary recipe.
Okay.
Which is kind of nice because it's like you can say it's mole. Like I can call it mole for myself.
Yeah.
And it doesn't have to be definitive of anything.
I feel
because
like it's an acquired taste too, man. I mean, like even at the
Totally.
wedding, you know, we noticed, you know, when we're picking up stuff and platters afterwards, like, oh, this entire table dug this mole.
Yeah.
And then this entire table was so scared
Yeah.
That's
because they
funny.
couldn't pronounce it. Or,
Yeah.
you know what I mean?
Right, right.
You know, so it's so
I know a lot of
interesting.
people will be like, chocolate?
Yeah,
Because
exactly.
they think it's
Sauce?
going to
Yeah.
be
Yeah.
sweet, but it's not really sweet. It has like fruit
No.
and nuts and peppers and dried chilies.
yeah, they're all different, which I love.
Yeah. I've had it maybe a couple of times, and it is an interesting flavor, right? It's not a flavor of like a sauce that you would
No.
expect.
No.
Yeah.
It works so well with the barbecue we did that day.
Oh yeah, with brisket, mole, and brisket together is just so
really,
good.
really,
Yeah.
really great.
He's making you hungry, isn't he?
Absolutely. I was already hungry to start with, and this is just taking it over the edge. But let's take a quick break here.
Real quick message for you guys. If you guys are enjoying today's episode, please leave us a review on your favorite podcast app and subscribe to our YouTube channel. Also, if you haven't already, make sure you subscribe to our email newsletter for all of the cool spots to eat and drink around town, as well as upcoming events and fun stuff like that. Also, we've got some brand new merch on our website, including these Thanks for Supporting Local hats and 2 brand new t-shirts. So make sure to check out our website for more. Now back to the podcast.
So, if somebody hires Common Hospitality, what can they expect, right? Like, if I've never had a private chef or anything like that before, and someone's like, "Hey, somebody recommended you to me," what would you explain? What you guys bring to the table? No
I
pun
think the
intended.
first thing is that, and something that we're really, you know, is that it's customizable to
Okay.
what they want to do. You know, so that's where we come from. Again, the word hospitality, right? It's not invasive. It's welcoming. You know, so in our hearts and our minds, you know, the first thing, hey, what. You know, a lot of times the questions we ask the people is like, "What's your favorite restaurant? Where do you know?"
That's a good question.
and that kind of gives us kind of, you know, if someone says Applebee's, then we hang up the phone. You know, but I mean, it usually
Or we'll show you.
yeah. But we always want to know, like, okay, well, this is where they are palate wise. This is where they are vision wise. You know, so the very first thing I think is just to kind of more or less hear their vision. And most of these events that we do are actual events. So it's very rare for us, you know, whether it's a birthday party or, like I said, a bachelorette or a wedding, or, you know, there are things where there's been time invested outside just the cuisine. So for us, it's really, really important. I think that's the first thing people expect. Like, we're going to come in and go, what's your vision for this? Not like, you know, like Luke likes to say this all the time. We've never done the same menu twice.
Okay.
We've literally
Yeah.
never done the same menu twice, just because it doesn't work
Luke
seasonally.
would be bored.
Right.
I would be.
And it doesn't work seasonally, you know.
Sure.
It doesn't work with vision of certain people, and we have a wide variety of what we can do. So I think that's the first thing that people can expect. And then the second thing is that you know, we're really, really, I mean, I'm sure you're going to add to this, but we're really straight up with, like, hey, we're one-stop shop type thing. Like, you're not going to, you know, we're gonna come in, we're gonna come to your kitchen, we're gonna obviously leave it better than we found it. We bring our own stuff. We're not charging you for that. You know what I mean?
Sure.
I think for both of us, this is about giving people an experience when they walk away that's memorable. You know, and not only memorable, like, we actually want to. Of course, I think everybody wants this, but I mean, truly to our heart, like, hey, we care.
Yeah.
Actually care about, like, this being something that everyone goes, not, oh wow, we were so impressed. At least not for me. That's not my vibe. You know, it's more like, wow, this really was hospitable. This was really, really communal.
Yeah.
And this was different than, you know, just showing off, if that
Sure.
makes sense. I don't know.
Yeah. I mean, what we try to do is what I call it all inclusive, right? So we literally show up and we bring everything and we do everything and we try to, even like I always put him on a spot every time to like, hey, give a toast at the end. You know what I mean? Because he always has such great. Well, no, he has great words of wisdom and he's a great speaker and like he just imparts on people all the time. So like we try to like make it an all inclusive, harmonious piece and like. Like the best thing about food and people is like food brings people together and we're trying to bring these people even closer together by what we're trying to do.
Yeah. Which I think is interesting. A lot of times on the Bachelorettes, again, I keep saying that, a lot of times you have different pockets of people there. So you've got 16 girls and a lot of them met just over that weekend.
Right.
Because the bride
You're bringing
knows,
families together.
She knows, here's her sister-in-law who doesn't know her best friend, here's their college friends and their and so it's like, again, that idea of what Luke just said, we just want to just mash everyone. And I'm not, the majority of times that what we get back is like, oh, this is the best part of our weekend. Like we went to all these cool places, but we spent this 3 hours. We spent this 3 hours, not only with amazing food, but again, that hospitality factor.
Yeah. That's what it was like when we went over to your house for dinner. When Luke cooked and made.
It's immersive. It's not just a dinner.
Yeah, that's what we want. That's big for us.
Well, that's our culture too. Is like you're not just going to have some dude in the kitchen cooking with an angry face on that's going to drop off food and then walk away. Like, no, we're gonna come have a cocktail with you and we're gonna talk. If you want to talk, like we're here to hang out. Like it's. We're friends. This is a family get together.
The very few times where we've been, considered the help have been and I think that's happened twice in the last year and a half. I get in the car afterwards and I'm just like, I hate this.
It's not your arena.
Dude, we want to.
You have too much to share.
We do.
Right.
We care, so we just want to laugh. We want, so it's like those few times, it's like, okay, let's get the heck out of here quick.
Well, you guys bring that to the table though, right? Like
literally.
Yeah. Yes. Which is great because for me, if I'm doing something like that, that's what I want. Like I don't want like, oh man, this uncomfortable. Oh, here he comes. Shh. Right. Thank you.
Yeah.
You want to enjoy it, right?
Totally.
I mean, like you said, the hospitality aspect of it.
Yeah, totally.
So I guess to kind of backtrack a little bit is why do you think that's missing? I mean, this is kind of for all of you guys. Like, why do you think those things are missing? You can say you can have the great food and the great ambiance, but not great service, or it's hard to find the three of those together. Like, why do you think that's kind of where the state of things are right now?
Unfortunately too, is like we become chain heavy.
Sure.
And restaurant group heavy. And don't get me wrong, there's a lot of people that are doing it really well, the groups. But it's just, especially service nowadays is like service can take you down instantly.
Sure.
It can make your restaurant suck. It can make your food suck.
Yeah.
It can make your drinks suck if you have an angry bartender, which there's a lot out there now. And it's just, it comes down to service a lot of the times. Like I remember actually when we came up with the name, I went to a restaurant in downtown Phoenix and I won't even say the name because I don't want people to go there because it's that good to me. But I remember going to this restaurant. It was my first time there. And like from the second you walked in, you were greeted with smiles from the people. And our server was like so amazing. And I was there for a business lunch. Like we had the computers out and it was like uncomfortable. Like we were going over numbers and it was just annoying. And this girl was just like on top of us, like just enough to where it wasn't uncomfortable.
Yeah.
And I was just like, oh, this is amazing. And then the food came out. She made great suggestions of the menu. And I was like, okay, now the food's awesome too. The ambience is awesome because she's taking her time and doing everything right. And I remember like I never do this. Like I'll tell people, oh yeah, it was really good, everything was great. And I actually went to the owner and like I don't do that because it's awkward. You know what I mean? I was like, when I open a restaurant again, I'm stealing her. Like I told him, like I'm like everything was amazing. Just so you know, like.
And conversely, 2 nights ago, I went to the D-backs game, and the games are going quick. We left early. And me and my sons, I've got a 9-year-old and a 14-year-old. We wanted to watch the end of the basketball game. First place we went into, we walked in, it was 8:45. They go, hey, the kitchen's closed. And they're, at 8:45.
And it's supposed to be open till 9, probably.
Totally. No. Yeah. Or later 11 o'clock, right?
Wow.
So then we went to another place. And I kid you not, this happened. We ordered our food. We sat down. And as our food came and it was sat in front of us, I had not yet taken a bite. and they turned off the television in front of me.
Oh, yeah.
Like, and I was like,
that
oh,
immediately brings the whole experience
dude,
down.
we're here to watch this end of this. It's 6 minutes left. You know, and I looked at my son, who, you know, my 14-year-old, he kind of understands and he has some interest in the business. And I said, this is what you never do. Like, I just felt like we don't matter. At all.
You're not welcome.
We're not, and so I think Luke is so right. It's a service. Service matters. Like, the food that we had was great in front of us, but like, why? And the response I got was, "Oh, it's part of my closing duties." And I'm like, "Whoa,
where's the human element in that?"
I have not yet taken a bite of food, and you just turned off the ball game right in front of me, and then walked away and didn't turn it back on. Like, I was like, oh my gosh, you know,
Even
like,
after you asked?
totally.
Like, wow.
And of course, I just went and turned it on him. But anyway, but there's something missing to what Luke said, you know, whether it's these chain idea or just like, there's just so much of a concentration where in Phoenix, you know, competition is so high when it comes to this industry that people could just go down the street. You know, so it doesn't matter, you know, and I think that's the thing about service, you know, where if there's improper training, you're going to just have a bunch of rogue people thinking that they're just
it comes
private.
from the top.
Yeah, top
That's
down.
right. They're just contractors. This server could care less. Just
Yeah.
wanted to get its cash and leave. And there wasn't anything about the vision of the actual, because I know, and I actually said to, not that we got to go down this area too far, but like I said, is this what your owner would want? Because there's no way.
Right.
There's no way on a playoff game at 9:03 when I just got my food that you're going to do this.
And
There's just no way.
And not even a lot of time left in the game.
Unbelievable. It was
Yeah.
so
that's crazy.
unbelievable. I
Well,
forgot
that's
to tell
why
you about
places like Anello and Pala, because their service, they're very invested in the whole.
Yeah.
I figured that was one of the ones you were talking about. But, you know, they care about their team cares about them. You know, Pala calls them ambassadors
I like that.
because they
That's so
carry the
cool.
vision through, and they're passionate about it, just as passionate as the chef is, as the general manager, as the bartender. So it
Yeah.
really stands out when they're like that.
And I think people would scoff at, you know, some regular server. Oh, we're ambassadors, no, we're just serving. No, by setting that vision up, you're actually you're saying a lot there. Hey, you know, you actually represent the
You're
owner. Of
guiding the
Totally,
diner.
man. Totally.
I like that.
So that's a big thing for us. You
Yeah.
know, it's like we shine in that area.
I always think that, you know, you get these, like the infamous Yelp reviews and the people who complain and this and that, and I always just automatically come to the defense of the restaurant side of it. It's like, F you don't know what you know.
Yeah.
But then you got to realize that it is both sides of it, right? There are people that have bad experiences, right? But then also there's that side of it of the Yelp world of, you know, people just wanting to complain about stuff. So I don't know where I was going with that, but
You're just speaking truth, man.
yeah. Well, before we wrap this up, I do want to put you guys on the spot once again. This is something I've been doing a lot on the podcast lately, is getting recommendations from you guys. Like, what are some of the places you love to go recently? Maybe some dishes or drinks or places that stood out. You too, Christina, because I know you're all over the place, and you know. But let's start with you. Is there something recently that, like, you know, if someone's saying, "Hey, I'm coming to Phoenix, where should I go?"
I mean,
after I hire Common Hospitality.
Osteria Mia for sure.
Yeah.
I mean, I remember the first time like seeing porchetta on a menu. Like,
Oh,
you just
really?
don't see it on a
Yeah,
menu
no.
ever. And I'm like, okay, these people actually care about what they're making.
Yeah.
And I remember having to be like, okay, this place is pretty good.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
So here for sure, and then you know, Bala is phenomenal.
Pala.
Yeah.
Yeah. What, both locations. Was one on 24th and then one down.
You know what's
Yeah.
funny? Yeah, I've only been to the downtown location. I've never been to 24th. Well, mostly because they only have a bar at the downtown
Right.
location.
Yeah.
So.
That's
The,
right.
the
Yeah.
downtown is different. I mean, they have a synergy together with the
Yeah.
Mediterranean wood fired, but downtown, because of Jason, is more Japanese techniques, more
gotcha.
global flavors.
Gotcha. Yeah, and vibe wise, completely
Right.
different too.
Yeah,
right?
and
You
they've
go-
just redone the second floor. They've changed the furniture. They're going to do more lounge, like pre-dinner, post-dinner drinks, live music.
nice.
Yeah, it's
Okay.
beautiful.
Excellent.
Dude, for me, probably like, and Luke will tell you, I love Asian food. So I love Taiwan, down off of Thomas there. And
Yeah,
they
in fact,
just,
I just wrote a story in the latest issue of Taste of AZ magazine
I
on Glyvon.
love, I just love what they do there. And I mean, I just think that the vibe is cool there too, right?
You go into a different world.
Yeah.
You know, I haven't eaten there. I delivered a box
What?
of magazines. I know.
Yeah.
And the guy was like, what is it, Dan? Is the owner?
Yes. Yep.
Yeah,
Dan's
Dan.
one of the owners.
So I gave him a box, and first he's like, what the hell is this guy bringing this box in? And then I show him, I'm like, oh, you guys are on the cover of this. He's like, oh, this is great. He's like, this place is incredible. He's like, you haven't been here before? I'm like, no. I said, Christina wrote the story. Luke took the pictures. I haven't been here yet. He's like, would you want to join us?
Dude.
And I'm like, I want to. My kids are getting off the bus. They're 9 and 11.
Let
They
them
could-
walk.
Exactly.
That's
It's
another
worth it.
place that has the whole package, the
do.
Yeah.
beverage program, the service.
Exactly. And
Yeah.
they keep it small, you know. I mean, we had to make reservations for lunch, you know. And
Yeah.
it was just like, what?
Yeah,
Is it really?
never. Well, you can try to do a walk-in, but
Yeah.
if you know you're going, make a
For
reservation.
lunch.
It was packed.
Yeah.
It was at like 2:30, like
Oh,
an
yeah.
off kind of time.
Yeah.
And on like 2:30 on like a Tuesday or maybe Wednesday, I can't remember, but you go into a different world. It's just like this nondescript building.
Totally.
And then you open that door that's covered. I didn't know where the door was at first because it's like covered in like plants and
Yeah,
stuff, right?
right.
And I opened the door. I'm like, what is this? Like this
Yeah.
is incredible. The smells and just it's a
Yeah.
beautiful. So great recommendation.
Try the
it's really
dumplings.
good.
The dumplings are
The dumplings?
some of the best I've had in town.
Yeah.
Okay.
I agree.
Yes.
Yeah.
And the wings. Yeah. It's really
Yeah,
good.
the wings. The last time we went with, Peter McQuaid of Kala. And we, ordered our food, and that was the one that we ordered another round of the wings.
Yeah.
We almost
really.
did another round
Just
of the dumplings.
Fabulous, man. Fabulous.
All right. Great suggestion so far. Christina, that's a lot to follow up with.
Well, I have a lot of favorites, for different reasons, but so I'll think of the newest ones I've been to.
Okay.
I went to First and Last. I haven't been there in a while.
Okay.
That was in the last issue.
Yes.
And I love those people,
Yeah.
and that meal was fantastic.
Where's that? I've not heard
It's
of that.
downtown.
Okay.
Roosevelt
Okay.
Row
Okay, cool.
area. But husband and wife, she runs front of the house. He's the chef.
Cool.
So definitely go there, and they just opened an Amari bar downstairs.
Did they really?
sweet.
Yeah, so I know you guys would like that.
What is Amari again? Is that?
It's like a digestivo.
Oh, okay.
Amaro.
So they have-
Amaro.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
It's
So
a
they
broader
have-
category.
Big list where you can just sip on them. You can do a sampler. There's drinks with them. I just tried, is it Rocchino? I forget, a new one that I really liked.
Yeah.
Arboleta is new, and we're doing a podcast on them
Oh,
because
yes,
I'm
yeah.
in love with that place. Have you guys been there yet?
Oh.
Mediterranean
Okay.
Oh, that
inspired, but it's a
yeah.
little they Moroccan. They have tapas. They have, they have one of the best hummus dishes in town of all things. My husband gets it every time. My
Yeah.
meat-eating husband loves
That's
the
surprising.
hummus.
And that's
but
at
great
Scottsdale
staff.
Quarter.
Mhm.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, they were a group that had restaurants in San Francisco.
Okay.
But I think they've one open, a couple closed during COVID, and now they've moved here, and it's in Scottsdale Quarter.
Okay. Excellent.
So I'm trying to think, where else have I been lately? I know there's some other great place. Oh, Wren and Wolf.
Okay. Yeah.
I kind of just discovered it thanks to my friend Thomas. They do world class. I know you've had
Oh, yeah.
John on the podcast.
Yeah.
And he introduced me to Chef Ivan, and I'm a huge fan now. So
Wren and Wolf. Where's that?
it's downtown also.
Okay.
And,
I always get like Wren and Wolf, Weft and Warp.
Yeah.
Like there's like all
A lot of
the.
ands.
Yeah, a lot of W's, but
Yeah.
they also have a new little speakeasy type where you can't bring your phone in, which I love
That's
because
cool.
I can actually.
Yeah,
Except the
that's
drinks
cool.
are so pretty, I will be like, oh.
Yeah.
Right.
Is that trophy room?
Yeah,
Is that what
trophy room, and
yeah.
it's cool because they have like those library drawers, and they have chargers in them, and you put your phone in,
Oh,
and
that's
you
such a
plug it
cool
in,
idea.
and you go in and
That's
enjoy
actually a really
yourself
cool
without
idea.
having to document everything.
Yeah.
So, and the drinks were great. Actually, Ernesto says it's his new favorite bar.
Ooh. wow.
Very warm, lots of leather. They've spared no expense on the decor, and
Yeah.
it's just very cool. It's a little bit like Weft and Warp. I mean, see, I just did that. It's a little bit like the Wren and Wolf dining room.
Yeah.
That aesthetic, but cozier, and it's great. It's another place you should check out.
Excellent. Great recommendations, guys. Thank you so much. I'm trying to think. I think the last new place I tried was a hot dog place across the street from Smelter Town in Clarkdale. So, yeah.
Smelter Town.
Yeah. Have you been to Smelter
No,
Town?
I
Are you,
haven't.
are you beer guys at all? No? New brewery. Well, I'd say not new brewery. It's been open since like 2020. But it's in it's old brick building. They have like a bed and breakfast. They call it Arizona's first bed and brew
Oh,
because they have
that's
like this
cool.
9-room bed and breakfast.
Happy day, yeah, that's
Yeah,
cool. That's
and their beers are incredible. So made a beer with them recently. We're both big fans of the Black Keys, so we made a beer called Howlin' for You. And
nice.
when I went up to make the beer, I just kind of stood around while they made the beer because
Yeah.
I don't, my specialty is taking pictures and,
Yeah.
and drinking.
Tasting.
Right?
Saying it tastes good, yeah.
But we got these birria tacos from the place across the street, and then apparently at night they make these really incredible hot dogs. So
Wow.
Yeah.
I'll have to hit that
That
the
is
next time I'm
cool.
in Clarkdale.
Yeah, usually not a destination that you go to.
Well, they have
right?
a lot of Arizona wine tasting rooms, so that's why we
that's
usually go.
right.
And then there's
Yeah.
a great French place run by Chef Violet, I think. I
Oh,
forget the name of it
in
now.
Clarkdale. Mm-hmm. Oh, okay.
Like
Yeah.
pastries and
Yeah.
sandwiches, croque monsieur, and that kind of thing.
Dang. All right. Well, we gave people a lot to think about then, for sure.
Seriously.
All right. So, where do people find you guys? Like online? Like, how do they look you up? And
Yeah, go to our website, common-hospitality.com, or follow us on social media at Common Hospitality.
excellent.
And
Excellent.
man, we'd love to see people, man. Love
Yeah.
to meet.
Awesome. Well, guys, thanks for being on the show, and look forward to having your food again. So,
Yeah, please do.
Thank you
Hint,
guys
hint.
so much.
Yeah.
Yeah, right?
awesome.
All
Thanks,
right,
guys.
see you.
Thank you.